Welcome to Mr. Evil, the most terrifying corner on YouTube, where secrets and unsolved cases hide in the dark. Here we dive into the world of puzzles and brutal murders and bloody crimes, where we reveal the most horrifying cases and the latest investigations without leaving any terrifying details undiscovered. Get ready for the journey through the most evil aspects of our world, where deadly secrets await to be revealed. Subscribe now and join us in uncovering the secrets hidden in the dark, and don't miss a moment of this terrifying journey through the shadows. Scary story. What if you moved into a haunted house, targeted by vengeful ghosts of its previous owners who died horrifically? What if you discovered a dark secret, part of a twisted plan? Welcome to Elmwood Manor, a horror story that will make you scream and shiver. Are you ready to enter? Watch, if you dare. The Johnson family had been looking for a new home for months. They had moved from New York to Connecticut for John's new job as a lawyer, but they had trouble finding a suitable place to live. They wanted a spacious and elegant house, but they also wanted something affordable and close to John's office. They had visited dozens of properties, but none of them met their expectations. That was until they saw Elmwood Manor. It was a beautiful and majestic mansion, built in the late 19th century by a wealthy industrialist named Edward Elmwood. It had 4 floors, 12 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a library, a ballroom, a wine cellar, and a large garden. It was located in a quiet and peaceful town called Elmwood, named after the Elmwood family, who had founded and owned most of the land in the area. It was only a 20-minute drive from John's office, and it was surprisingly cheap. The Johnsons couldn't believe their luck. They fell in love with the house at first sight, and they didn't hesitate to make an offer. The real estate agent, a middle-aged man named Mr. Smith, seemed eager to close the deal. He told them that the house had been on the market for a long time, and that the previous owners had left in a hurry. He didn't give any details, but he assured them that the house was in perfect condition and that they would be very happy there. The Johnsons signed the papers without asking too many questions. They were too excited to move into their dream home. They packed their belongings and drove to Elmwood Manor, ready to start a new life. They arrived on a sunny and warm day in June. The house looked even more impressive in person, with its red brick walls, white columns, and green shutters. The garden was full of flowers and trees, and a fountain adorned the front lawn. The Johnsons felt like they had entered a fairy tale. They unloaded their car and entered the house. They were greeted by a spacious and elegant foyer, with a marble staircase leading to the upper floors. The walls were decorated with paintings and portraits of the Elmwood family, and a large chandelier hung from the ceiling. The house was furnished with antique and luxurious furniture, and the floors were covered with Persian rugs. The house had a cozy and welcoming atmosphere, and the Johnsons felt at home right away. They explored the house with delight, choosing their rooms and admiring the details. John and Sarah picked the master bedroom on the 2nd floor, which had a fireplace, a walk-in closet, and a balcony overlooking the garden. Emily, their 10-year-old daughter, chose a pink and girly room on the same floor, which had a canopy bed, a vanity table, and a collection of porcelain dolls. Michael, their 8-year-old son, chose a blue and sporty room on the 3rd floor, which had a bunk bed, a desk, and a model airplane. They also found a playroom on the same floor, which had a lot of toys, games, and books. The Johnsons were thrilled with their new home. They unpacked their things and settled in. They had a delicious dinner in the dining room, which had a long table, a fireplace, and a crystal chandelier. They watched a movie in the living room, which which had a large sofa, a flat-screen TV, and a DVD player. They went to bed early, feeling tired but happy. They slept soundly, unaware of the dark and sinister forces that lurked in the shadows of Elmwood Manor. The next morning, they woke up to a pleasant surprise. They found a basket of fresh bread, eggs, milk, and fruit on their doorstep, along with a note that read, "Welcome to Elmwood, dear neighbors. We hope you enjoy your stay. The people of Elmwood are very friendly and helpful, and we are always ready to lend a hand. If you need anything, just ask. We are here for you. Sincerely, the Elmwood Community Association." The Johnsons were touched by the gesture. They thanked their unknown benefactors and had a hearty breakfast. They decided to spend the day exploring the town and meeting the locals. They got in their car and drove to the town center, which was only a few minutes away. They were impressed by the charm and beauty of Elmwood. It was a small and quaint town, with a population of about 5,000 people. It had a main street with shops, cafes, restaurants, and a movie theater. It had a park with a playground, a pond, and a gazebo. It had a school, a library, a church, and a town hall. It had a history museum, which showcased the town's rich and proud heritage. It had a friendly and relaxed vibe, and the Johnsons felt like they had stepped back in time. They parked their car and walked around the town, greeting and chatting with the people they met. They were welcomed with smiles and kindness, and they received many compliments and invitations. They learned that Elmwood was founded in 1776 by Edward Elmwood's grandfather, who was a patriot and a hero of the American Revolution. They learned that the Elmwood family had been the most influential and respected family in the town for generations, until they mysteriously disappeared in the 1970 ESE. They learned that Elmwood Manor had been vacant and abandoned for decades, until the Johnsons bought it. They also learned that Elmwood had a reputation for being haunted. They heard stories of strange noises and lights coming from the house at night. They heard stories of people who had ventured into the house and never came back. They heard stories of ghosts and demons that roamed the halls and tormented the living. They heard stories of curses and secrets that plagued the Elmwood family and anyone who crossed their path. The Johnsons were amused and intrigued by these stories. They didn't believe in ghosts or curses, and they thought that the people of Elmwood were just superstitious and imaginative. They thanked them for their hospitality and their warnings, but they assured them that they had nothing to fear. They told them that they loved Elmwood Manor and that they were very happy there. They returned to their home in the afternoon, feeling more confident and comfortable than ever. They decided to have a barbecue in the garden, and they invited some of their new friends from the town. They had a fun and festive evening, enjoying the food, the music, and the company. They laughed and joked, and they forgot about the stories they had heard. They went to bed late, feeling tired but happy. They slept soundly, unaware of the dark and sinister forces that lurked in the shadows of Elmwood Manor. The next day, they woke up to a nightmare. They found their house in a state of chaos and horror. The windows were shattered, the doors were broken, the furniture was overturned, and the walls were smeared with blood. They found their belongings scattered and destroyed, and their clothes torn and stained. They found their pets, a dog and a cat, mutilated and mangled, their bodies lying on the floor. They found their friends, who had stayed the night, slaughtered and dismembered, their limbs hanging from the ceiling. They screamed and cried, and they ran out of the house, terrified and traumatized. They were met by a crowd of people who had gathered outside the house, alerted by the noise and the commotion. They were met by the police, who had arrived on the scene, ready to investigate and arrest. They were met by the media, who had arrived on the scene, ready to report and sensationalize. They were accused and blamed, and they were arrested and interrogated. They claimed that they were innocent and that they had no idea what had happened. They claimed that they had slept through the night and that they had woken up to the horror. They claimed that they had been attacked by an unknown and unseen force and that they had been the victims of a supernatural and evil power. They were not believed and trusted, and they were condemned and vilified. They were labeled as murderers and monsters, and they were hated and despised. They were labeled as lunatics and liars, and they were mocked and ridiculed. They were labeled as cultists and devil worshippers, and they were feared and shunned. They were tried and convicted, and they were sentenced and executed. They died, but they did not rest. They became the new ghosts of Elmwood Manor, joining the old ones in their eternal torment. They became the new curse of Elmwood Manor, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to unlock their horrors. The Johnson family was dead, but their story was not over. Their story became a legend that spread across the country and the world. Their story became a sensation that attracted the attention and the curiosity of many people. Their story became a challenge that tempted the courage and the foolishness of some people. Some people wanted to know the truth behind the mystery and the horror of Elmwood Manor. Some people wanted to prove themselves, to prove their bravery and their skills in facing the unknown and the unseen. Some people wanted to have fun, to have a thrill and an adventure in exploring the haunted and the cursed. Some people dared to enter Elmwood Manor, but none of them came out alive. They were killed by the ghosts of the Johnsons, who had become the new guardians and the new tormentors of the house. They were killed by the ghosts of the Elmwoods, who had never left the house and who had never forgiven the intruders. They were killed by the demons of the house, who had been unleashed by the dark and sinister forces that lurked in the shadows. They were killed in various and gruesome ways, depending on their sins and their fears. Some were stabbed and slashed. Some were strangled and suffocated. Some were burned and electrocuted. Some were poisoned and infected. Some were crushed and impaled. Some were drowned and frozen. Some were hanged and decapitated. Some were dismembered and devoured. They were killed, but they did not rest. They became the new ghosts of Elmwood Manor, joining the old ones in their eternal torment. They became the new curse of Elmwood Manor, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to unlock their horrors. But there was one group of people who were different, who were not like the others. They were not driven by curiosity or courage or fun. They were driven by a different motive, a motive that was more powerful and more dangerous. They were driven by greed. They were a team of treasure hunters who had heard rumors of a hidden treasure in Elmwood Manor. They had heard that Edward Elmwood, the last and the richest of the Elmwoods, had amassed a fortune from his business and his investments, and that he had hidden it somewhere in the house before he disappeared. They had heard that the treasure was worth millions, if not billions, of dollars, and that it was guarded by traps and puzzles that only the smartest and the luckiest could solve. They had heard that the treasure was the ultimate prize, and they wanted it for themselves. They were a team of 5, each with their own skills and specialties. There was Jack, the leader, who was a master of planning and strategy. There was Lisa, the hacker, who was a genius of technology and hacking. There was Mike, the muscle, who was an expert of combat and weapons. There was Anna, the thief, who was a prodigy of stealth and lockpicking. And there was Tom, the historian, who was a scholar of history and culture. They were a team of 5, and they were confident and prepared. They had done their research, and they had gathered their equipment. They had studied the layout of the house, and they had mapped out their route. They had learned the history of the Elmwood family, and they had deciphered their clues. They had ignored the stories of the ghosts and the curses, and they had dismissed them as myths and legends. They were a team of 5, and they were ready to enter Elmwood Manor. They arrived on a stormy and dark night when the moon was hidden and the stars were dim. They parked their van near the gate of the house, and they put on their masks and their gloves. They carried their backpacks and their tools, and they armed themselves with their guns and their knives. They cut the wire of the fence, and they sneaked into the garden. They reached the front door of the house, and they broke the lock. They entered Elmwood Manor, and they sealed their fate. They were greeted by a cold and eerie silence, broken only by the sound of their footsteps and their breathing. They turned on their flashlights, and they scanned their surroundings. They saw the foyer, with its marble staircase and its chandelier. They saw the paintings and the portraits of the Elmwood family, staring at them with stern and scornful eyes. They saw the blood and the gore, the remnants of the previous victims, splattered on the walls and the floor. They felt a chill and a dread, but they shook it off. They reminded themselves of their goal, and they focused on their mission. They followed Jack, who led them to the basement, where they believed the treasure was hidden. They descended the stairs, and they reached the door. They opened the door, and they entered the hidden room. They saw a large and circular chamber with a domed ceiling and a tiled floor. They saw a pedestal in the center of the room with a metal box on top of it. They saw a ring of candles around the pedestal, forming a pentagram. They saw a ring of symbols around the candles, forming a circle. They saw a ring of photographs around the symbols, forming a collage. They recognized the photographs, and they gasped. They were the photographs of the Elmwood family, from the first to the last. They were the photographs of the Johnson family and their friends. They were the photographs of the people who had entered the house and who had died. They were the photographs of themselves, taken without their knowledge. They realized that they had walked into a trap, and they panicked. They tried to turn back, but they found the door locked. They tried to break the door, but they found it reinforced. They tried to call for help. They found their phones jammed. They were trapped, and they were doomed. They heard a voice, and they froze. It was a voice that was cold and cruel, a voice that was familiar and unfamiliar, a voice that was human and inhuman. It was the voice of Edward Elmwood, the voice of the mastermind and the madman, the voice of the ghost and the demon. Welcome to Elmwood Manor, my dear guests. I hope you enjoy your stay. You have been chosen to be part of my game of life and death, my game of treasure and horror. You have been chosen to be part of my legacy of wealth and power, my legacy of blood and madness. You have been chosen to be part of my family of Elmwoods, my family of Johnsons, my family of ghosts and curses. You have been chosen, and you cannot escape. You see, I have hidden a treasure in this house, a treasure that is worth more than you can imagine, a treasure that is made of gold and jewels, a treasure that is made of secrets and knowledge, a treasure that is made of souls and magic, a treasure that is mine and mine alone, a treasure that I will not share and that I will not give. But I have also hidden a key that can open the box that contains the treasure. A key that is hidden somewhere in this house. A key that is hidden among the traps and the puzzles. A key that is hidden among the ghosts and the demons. A key that is yours if you can find it. A key that is yours if you can survive. You have 1 hour to find the key and claim the treasure. 1 hour to solve the mysteries and overcome the horrors. 1 hour to live or die. 1 hour to win or lose. But beware of the dangers that await you. Beware of the ghosts of the Elmwoods who will haunt you and hunt you. Beware of the ghosts of the Johnsons who will taunt you and torture you. Beware of the demons of the house who will tempt you and corrupt you. Beware of the dark and sinister forces that lurk in the shadows who will manipulate you and destroy you. And beware of each other. For you are not allies, you are not friends. You are rivals, you are enemies. You are competitors, you are prey. You are part of the game, you are part of the treasure. You are part of the legacy, you are part of the family. You are part of Elmwood Manor, and you will never leave. Let the game begin. The voice stopped, and the candles lit. The symbols glowed, and the photographs burned. The box opened, and the horror began. The end.